Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Listen, I'm Chad Bryan. I've got Ben Bales with me. We've got a very special episode today. It's not just the sports show with no name. You see the bottom of your screen here, the bottom left. Take a look. It's also Come On Ref. So it's the first ever Come On Ref sports show with no name collaboration. Come On Sports Show. Come On Ref with no name. Ref Come On Sports with no name show. I don't know what it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a collaboration. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about, we got a lot to get into today. I don't know. But first, just welcome. Welcome to Come On Ref. We appreciate you spending your day with us, your afternoon, your post-lunch. I hope you're not just now eating lunch. This is usually when I end up eating lunch. I end up eating really late. And that's not good because I get hangry. Ben, how are you doing today, man?
Good.
That's good. What's been going on? Anything new? Anything exciting?
Nothing much, really. Just watching sports as always.
I gotcha.
Trying to figure out who the Cavs are going to hire as the new head coach.
Oh, yeah, we'll get into that. I have no idea. But listen, maybe there's we'll get into that. Maybe there's a new person. Maybe there's a new name on the radar. Maybe Dan Gilbert's ears just perked up a little bit, but we'll get into that in a little bit. First off, I want to say, it's Thursday. It's not Thursday. It's Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. At least I know what month it is.
Neither do I.
June. Yeah, it's June 19th. Listen, happy Juneteenth. Today's a holiday, so happy Juneteenth to all of us from at Come On Ref and at the sports show with no name. I want to wish you a happy Juneteenth. Hope you you're gonna celebrate today and I don't know, cook out, have a couple beers, whatever. Just chill, relax, enjoy your day off if you have the day off. Hopefully you're gonna spend this next hour or so with us. But happy Juneteenth to all of you from all of us. Today, like I said on the show, we got a lot to talk about. The Celtics won their 18th all-time NBA title that broke the tie with the Lakers for the most all-time in the history of the NBA. They were tied at 17. Now the Celtics have 18. And we'll talk about, there's a debate there whether or not it may have been one of the easiest paths to a title of all time.
Probably.
But we can get into that a little bit. That's fine. Cavs still don't have a head coach. They don't have anybody there to tell anybody what to do. It's a free-for-all. Some people like to say the inmates are running the asylum. I actually don't really like that saying at all. That's a weird one. Players are not inmates. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, Cavs don't have a coach yet. We'll get into that. And the College World Series is underway. There's been some really, really exciting stuff going on already in Omaha. I love watching the College World Series, and it doesn't hurt that, games 1, 2, and 3, Ben, all ended anyway with a walk-off. That's really exciting.
I know, dude. That's wild. That's crazy.
So much fun, man. Really, that's unexpected. I mean, you don't expect the first 3 games in a row to come out blazing like that, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, where are we? Sadly, I do. Of course, yesterday, Hall of Famer Willie Mays died at 93 years old.
Rest in peace.
Man, rest in peace, Willie Mays. 660 lifetime home runs, 24-time All-Star. He was a 2-time MVP, 12-time Gold Glove winner. I can't believe he only won Gold Glove 12 times.
Is anybody ever going to beat 24 All-Stars?
I don't know. I mean, that's over a quarter of his life. I don't know. That's really
you'd have to play for almost 3 decades just to even come close to it.
I mean, it's really impressive.
You'd have to be good for that long. Wait, does that include his Negro League All-Stars too?
No, that's just MLB. MLB All-Star games 24. He only played 1 year in the Negro Leagues. He played for the Birmingham Black Barons for 1 year.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild.
That might be one of the. I mean, I get every record's meant to be broken. It'll probably be broken at some point, but that's one of those records that you think, okay, that record might stand for years and years.
It feels like that was going to stand the test of time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Real quick, interesting thing. You brought the Negro Leagues. Willie Mays actually played in Birmingham for the Black Barons at Rickwood Field tomorrow night on ESPN or Fox. I can't remember which one. But definitely check it out. They're having the tribute game. It's the Giants are going to play the Cardinals at Rickwood Field in Birmingham.
It would have been cool to see him there, but
what's that?
I said it would have been cool to see Willie Mays there, but
yeah. Well, he wasn't traveling much, anyway. Obviously his health was failing. It's very sad. He was probably one of my first favorite baseball players when I was a kid. You start reading into the history of baseball, and it's like, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, I mean, the Mount Rushmore, right, of baseball. I mean, he might be the best player of all time, pound for pound. Just so good defensively. Speed was amazing. Obviously, hit with tremendous power, 660 home runs. Good enough to be a 24-time All-Star. So, yeah, rest in peace, Willie Mays. Obviously think about his family. I saw Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds is his godson. He had a nice statement. You don't really hear much from Barry Bonds.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't hear much from Barry Bonds anymore. So it was kind of nice to see that. Unfortunate circumstances, but yeah, rest in peace, Willie Mays. Listen, just want to get into headlines real quick. The Celtics, right? Celtics are 23-24 NBA champions. Took down the Mavericks in 5 games. Did it even take 5? It was like 4.5 games. Ben, do you like the Celtics at all?
I wouldn't say I hate the Celtics because don't get me wrong. Yes, they have a great team, young, talented.
Yeah.
Built by Brad Stevens. I just think that when you go back and look at NBA Finals runs and teams that have won the championship, you're gonna look at the Celtics and you'll be like, hey, they got through the Heat, they got through the Pacers, and then they got through the Mavericks. But you're gonna go back and look and be like, wait, Jimmy Butler didn't play, Halliburton didn't play, and you faced a Luka Doncic that was basically couldn't walk.
He was a walking wounded. I mean, don't forget, by the way, they completely avoided the Knicks because Jalen Brunson broke his hand. Not to mention the Cavs series. The Cavs were down 60% of their starters by the time games 4 and 5 rolled around. I mean, Donovan Mitchell wasn't even on the court. I don't mean to take anything away from the Celtics, but I saw someone. I think I was watching maybe First Take this morning, and they asked, "Is this the most dominant Celtics team of all time?" No. I think that's the simple answer. I don't mean to take anything away, but no, I don't think they are. I think they had a favorable path. I'm not saying that they're not the best team in the NBA. I think if you look at the regular season, maybe they proved that they are. I know the regular season and the playoffs are 2 different things. But no, I certainly don't think this is the most dominant Celtics team of all time. I mean, have we forgotten
forget Larry Bird existed?
In the 80s? I mean, they were unbelievable in the mid-80s.
People forget Larry Bird existed.
Yeah, and Robert Parrish and
the Celtics. I saw a crazy stat. The Celtics didn't make the playoffs 5 straight years up until they drafted Larry Bird. After they drafted Larry Bird, they didn't miss his whole career. And it's how many guys does that happen with?
That's fairly rare. I mean, that's really, really rare. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to say they had the easiest path ever, but wow, was it favorable?
They did. No, you can say that. You can say they did.
I'll say it. It was a pretty easy path. Like you said, everybody was injured somewhere along the stop. I mean, Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, they completely missed Jalen Brunson in the Knicks. The Pacers were like a shell of themselves, I can't even think. Oh, Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton was out. I don't know.
The Pacers looked good against Boston when Halliburton was healthy. When he went out, your offense had no identity. You couldn't score the ball. You couldn't get anything going. I mean, you expected TJ McConnell to go out there and go blow for blow with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
I mean, okay. Sure.
I mean, if that's what you're relying on, I mean, okay, but we all saw how that turned out.
Yeah, we did see how it turned out. Let me ask you this real quick before I don't want to spend too much time on the Celtics because, and obviously maybe if Neil were joining us today, we'll try to have Neil join us next week, see if he's free, and we can kind of get the perspective from a Celtics fan of how this feels, right? I don't think he cares that it was an easy path. You just want to see your team win, right? Who cares? I don't care what people. I just want to see him win. So I'm sure he's happy. But does this championship for the Celtics make you feel a little bit better about where the Cavs are or were or will be at all, Ben?
I know a lot of people will probably say yes, but for me, if we're healthy, I generally think we can beat that Boston series, and they're not winning in finals.
Okay.
If we beat them.
So I think the answer is yes. I think you feel better about the Cavs, right? Like after watching the Celtics storm through the rest of the NBA, I mean, the Cavs had a couple games where they challenged Boston. They made Boston look a little out of sorts, even down significant amounts of players. I mean,
But at the same time, though, I mean, I get it. Yeah, Boston was injured. I mean, you lose Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, he was huge in the finals.
You must mean Tingus Pingus.
Yeah, sorry, Tingus Pingus.
That's what I thought you meant.
But
let's get his name right.
But still, I mean, even if you have Kristaps Porzingis, I mean, you're gonna have a 37-year-old Al Horford coming off the bench, trying to guard Evan Mobley and that whole front court.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, the Celtics were able to win because of our injuries, but I think if both teams squared up healthy, I think it goes to a Game 7.
Okay.
And it could go either way.
Fair enough. That's fair. That's fair to say. Well, anyway, like I said, I don't want to take anything away from them. I don't think they're the most dominant Celtics team. I definitely don't think they're the most dominant champions of all time. But congratulations. Like I said, they're your NBA champions. I mean, regardless of what you think of how it shook out or whatever, they were there. They were the last team standing. So congratulations to the Celtics. Congratulations to the Celtics fans. I'm sure it's just as much fun. I don't think they care who they played or who they missed or who they didn't play, whatever. Congratulations to the Celtics. NBA champions. It's not easy. Either way you cut it. Hey, man, look, day one at the College World Series did not disappoint, man.
No, it did not.
I mentioned it in the open. 3 straight walk-offs to start the tournament is amazing. I've got some of that here we can kind of go through. I was just looking at some of that. So game one, North Carolina walked off Virginia. So for some reason, Virginia decided to pitch to UNC All-American Vance Honeycutt, right, with a runner on third and 2 outs. Could have easily put him on. They could have just, tried to make him chase, whatever, but that's not what happened. They gave him a pretty easily hittable pitch, laced a shot down the left field line that ended up being the game winner, or it was the game winner. It was a walk-off, obviously. Tennessee in game 2 trailed 11-8, right, going to the bottom of the ninth against Florida State. Maybe got a little bit of help from the umpiring crew there. I don't know if you saw the strikeout that maybe wasn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that happened. Then they got like I said, they got a double from Dylan Drailing there. They walked it off against the Seminoles, and then
speaking of strikeouts that weren't, did you see the Dodgers game last night?
No, I didn't.
Teoscar Hernandez checked his swing. They appealed down to first. Umpire said he didn't go. Next pitch, he hits a 3-run bomb that gives him the lead.
Listen, I'm telling you, as a pitcher, that's how it always works. Anytime you get a strikeout that doesn't happen, you see it, right? The guy physically struck out. You're on the mound, and somehow it doesn't get called. Whether it's a missed call, whether it's they say he didn't swing, whatever it is. I can almost, with impunity tell you that the next pitch is going to be a bomb. It's just that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes, right? I don't know if that's a mental thing, if you're just thinking about it too much and maybe you hang one or whatever, but man, that's the way it works out, and it's terrible. Someone needs to do something about it. I'm kidding. It happens. You miss a call, whatever. But
I want to ask you, who do you have winning the College World Series?
I don't know. Florida looks really, really good. They jumped out today on Kentucky. Kentucky was the third team that, by the way, walked off against NC State. They had a home run to tie it and then a home run to win it in the bottom of the 10th. That was really exciting to watch, man. Kentucky's a fun team to watch anyway. Just their whole, their atmosphere, man. It's like a circus in that dugout, man. Those are it reminds me of some of the teams I played for, man. It was just silly, always laughing, always having a good time. Makes it a lot easier to win. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say Florida looks really good right now.
I think Florida.
Talking about the injury. What's that?
I think Florida, Tennessee are probably up there for me as well.
Yeah, Tennessee. They started 2-0 for the first time in school history in the College World Series. So obviously that put them in the catbird seat. I don't have a score right now on that Florida Kentucky game. The last I saw it was 9-1 in the third inning. It was an hour and a half after the first pitch.
Let me check for you.
Really, really, really long game. Yeah, and there was some stuff that happened with some Texas A&M fans. I don't really want to mention that. That was pretty unfortunate.
I saw that.
Yeah, listen, if you're going to act like a jackass, maybe don't come watch sports in public. Watch at home on your TV, right? And yell at your TV. Yell stupid, inappropriate things at your TV. Don't bring that into public and other people hear you say those kind of things. We won't get into it, but it's
15-4.
15-4. Wow. Okay.
Wait, how is Florida unranked?
I don't know. And it's funny. People have been talking about Kentucky like there's some kind of a Cinderella story. They're this upset. They're number 2 in the nation. It's not it's not completely unreasonable to think they'd be here in the College World Series winning some games and having some fun, right?
Yeah. I guess Florida's not ranked because they're 35-29. But they just made it to the College World Series last year.
Right. Don't you reshuffle? Don't you kind of I know looking at the D3 World Series, they kind of they reshuffled and they just seed everyone, right? 1 through 8.
I think once you get to the final 8 teams, I think they do that.
Yeah. Well, we're here. We're at the final 8. We're in the College World Series.
Or maybe they don't men's then.
They don't.
Or maybe they don't in Division 1.
They don't in Division 1. And I see the same thing sometimes in high school sports. It's you'll have a team that's 25-3 and they're in the state semifinal, but they're unranked. Playing a team that's 18-9 and they're number 2 in the state. And I'm wait, what? How'd that happen? But whatever, it doesn't matter. Different things. It's it's exposure. Some certain teams are always going to get the press or whatever. About certain teams. If you're a voter, right? You're voting on Ohio high school athletics, and you look at baseball. there are certain programs that come to your mind first, right? Division I, Moeller. I think Division III, like Coldwater, like these certain teams that are always there. And I think sometimes they get the benefit of the doubt. And that's not,
For sure.
not to take anything away. They're great programs. I just think sometimes the name recognition is cheap, over what team is actually performing and whatever.
It's kind of just like every year with Alabama in football. Oh, Alabama, Nick Saban, number 1 in the country.
Yeah, well, they proved that time and time again, though. That's what I mean.
Well,
like
no,
at least they were able to prove it on the field.
They did.
But, yeah,
but you get what I'm saying though.
I do get what
kind
you're
of just
saying.
like
Yep.
It was kind of just like with Urban Meyer and Ohio State too. Oh, Urban Meyer, Ohio State, number 1 in the country.
Yeah, you just assume, even though they put 14 or 15 guys in the draft, you just assume that they're going to reload restock the cupboard and they're going to be just the same next year. I know exactly what you mean.
It's like that for all sports too. Like, I mean, until the last couple of years with like the big blue bloods. Yeah. Like Duke, every year, Duke, Kentucky, UNC, you're like, okay, they sent 10 guys to the draft, but they're going to be back next year.
Yeah. With 10 new guys, 10 freshmen or whatever. It's,
But now it's UConn. You're like, okay, they just went back to back. They'll be back next year.
Yeah. It seems like it, especially with Dan Hurley. I mean, I don't know, I don't know how much of that is. It's hard to say. Even when you go back and even in hindsight, it's hard to say how much is a coach and how much for the players. Yeah, but Dan Hurley seems to have kind of a stranglehold on NCAA as basketball goes.
I saw a crazy thing about Dan Hurley. Every school he's went to, he's been a winner at. Before he went to Wagner, I think they were like 4-23 or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
And after he left, they were 23-8 or something like that.
Okay.
Went to Rhode Island, they were like 8-17. After he left Rhode Island, they were 24-8. Before he went to UConn, they were like 15-18, and now they've won back-to-back national titles.
So let me ask you: do you think it's just is it just the pull of being in a place where you're comfortable staying at UConn, or knowing that you've made a commitment to these players? I mean, you've always made a commitment to someone on the roster, right? There's not a good time for a coach to leave unless you're like Birmingham Southern and the team is no longer going to exist.
Yeah.
You're always going to have a commitment to someone on the roster, right? There's always someone there that's on scholarship, especially at UConn, any Division I program. There's always going to be someone coming in on scholarship, whatever. Do you think he just, I don't know. Basically what I'm trying to say is, why do you think he turned down that Lakers job? Does he not want to mess with the LeBron circus? I mean, what,
I was going to say,
LeBron circus?
I think it's more of that. I think it's more of kind of like the whole kind of like Deion Sanders situation in Colorado.
Yeah. Like,
instead of wanting to like coach grown men, he wants to build kids into young men. Like, he talks about all the time. Like he holds his players accountable, and like when they do something good, he congratulates them. He tells them, hey, like I'm proud of you. And he basically the pitch he gives the parents. He's like, hey, I'm gonna turn your son. He's like, I'm gonna turn your son into a man. He's like, he's gonna come to my program. So he's gonna become a man. He's gonna respect the refs. He's gonna respect the coaches. Like,
yeah,
I think it's more of the culture that he's built at UConn.
Yeah, quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah, it's more of like, I don't think he wants to go to the NBA and have to coach LeBron where you're not really the coach. You're kind of just a chess piece.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's it.
Like,
that's it. Yeah. It's like buying your kid a really nice toy, and like it's shiny at first and it's really cool and they're really excited about it, but they really only play with it a little bit and then it just kind of becomes like a side piece. Like, I feel like sometimes that's what it is in the NBA with the coach, right? Like, especially if you take on a team with a lot of superstars, like, hey, new coach, he's going to come in and and then, all of a sudden they're 12-7, and okay, that's an okay record, but like now the luster's kind of worn off and they're just like, they're not new anymore. Maybe like there's like a leg broken or something. Not like a human leg, but the toy reference or whatever.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Like the toy still functions, but it's not quite what you thought. I don't know. It's always
I mean, we talked about it. I don't know if it was you that I talked about it with, but there haven't been many coaches that went from college to the NBA and been successful.
Yeah, no, it really.
The only one you can really think of is Brad Stevens.
Yeah, right. And he walked into a pretty favorable situation, just as far as like finances and roster go.
No, for sure. I mean, but you still got to coach.
You have to coach. You got to put. Yeah, you got to put X's and O's. Yeah. Absolutely.
Who was the old not Maverick, the old Thunder coach?
Who?
Billy Donovan. He went from Florida. He went
Yes.
from
Yeah.
Florida
Yeah.
to the NBA. I mean, he's been kind of successful. I mean, but other than that, I mean, you look at all these other coaches. John Beeline, he was not even a full year.
No. Yeah, that
I
was a
mean, you look at all
weird
these other,
experiment.
yeah, you
And
look at
that's
all
what
these
I
other
told you. That's
college.
what scares me about Dan Gilbert, that off the wall hire that, may come out of nowhere. And listen, while we're talking about Dan Gilbert and the Cavs and the NBA, let's just get right into it. They still haven't made at least a public decision, right? I put that in parentheses because maybe they know who they're going to hire. Or Ben, you texted me this morning and said, hey, the Cavs go after this guy. Listen, maybe they're okay. James Borrego's nice, right? Monty Williams, fine, great. Or, Kenny Atkinson's fine, but maybe they had their eyes on Monty Williams. Maybe they knew the Pistons were going to fire Monty Williams and they said, hey, it's a little late in the process, but I mean, he's going to have a job somewhere next year, right? Like, why not here? Does he go to LA? I mean, where's he go? Listen, let me ask you this. With Monty Williams, let's just stop and forget the Cavs for a second. Monty Williams won over 60 games in Phoenix a couple years ago, right? And then he got fired. And then he went to Detroit, and everyone knew Detroit was going to tank. They started off 0-24, and then they actually started winning some games and looked good. And we were like, hey, then we knew they weren't going to go to the playoffs or make any noise that way, but you want to see development, right? You want to see somebody worth building around, and that maybe they had like a little mini core there that they could. I'm not saying they had like a core of starters, but maybe they had like a little mini something, like I don't know, something to build around anyway. They won 14 games there or whatever it was, 18. I don't know how many games he won there. But then he gets fired again, and it's like, why does Monty Williams keep getting fired, Ben?
It makes me wonder if it's more of like a locker room situation.
Yeah.
Like maybe he doesn't treat the players very nicely, or maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't hold people accountable.
Or maybe he holds them too accountable. We're in this like weird area in our society where it's like we don't accept the no nonsense guys anymore, right? Like Bobby Knight would never coach today. I mean, he wouldn't last 2 seasons, right? If you hired him in Indiana today, and he were vintage Bobby Knight, obviously not gonna coach Indiana now, but if he were vintage Bobby Knight and you hired him, I don't think he'd last 2 seasons there. That just wouldn't fly. Maybe that's it. Maybe it is. You got me. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking along the same lines.
I mean,
maybe it's interpersonal communications kind of a thing.
I mean, I know it's not basketball, but I mean, you look at football, right? There's a few coaches that guys like, I want to go play for him. I want to be part of that locker room. And the big name that comes to mind is Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Like you look at all these egos in sports in general, not just basketball, not just football.
Yeah.
You look at some of these egos. Mike Tomlin has to deal with some of the biggest egos in the world, and with Antonio Brown. Who else? Le'Veon Bell.
Ben Roethlisberger wasn't easy to get along with by any means. I mean, the guy refused to help new quarterbacks come into the system, so openly refused.
So, I mean, you look at those three, and not a single one of those reports came out until after they left the team.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you able to keep that inside the locker room for so long?
Respect. I think respect. And it's even though you don't get along with this person, or you're having I don't want to say you don't get along. You're butting heads a lot, right? Because that happens with families, right? You're a family.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're an NFL team, like you're a family. You're traveling together all year. You're together all the time. I mean, you're basically a family, right? You're gonna butt heads with your brother, your dad, your uncle, your cousin, your sister, your mom, whatever. It happens, and I think that it's the same thing. With the Steelers family, they're gonna butt heads, but I think they're just really, really good at keeping it family, and they've been good at that since the '60s. I mean, they've had 3 coaches since.
And I mean, I don't know if you've, I don't want to talk too much on football, but I just want to say one last thing. I don't know if you've heard, but players will leave Pittsburgh, and how a lot of times if players leave, like teams will ask like, hey, can you give us some intel?
Yeah.
Former Steelers players never give intel on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like you said, I think it's just that whole respect thing that I respect Tomlin too much to give away his secrets.
Yeah, I get it. And listen, Mike Tomlin's a guy that can turn an 0-13 start into a playoff appearance. I don't understand it. Mathematically, it's not possible, but he'll do it one day. Watch.
Right.
Dude, watch. I tell Jackson all the time, they're going to start 0-13 and end up 11-6. You know what I mean? It's wild. I don't understand how they take losses off the board, but it seems like they do. And I think it's the reason Mike Tomlin will have a job there until he doesn't want one anymore.
Yeah, no, I just think, but like you said, I mean, obviously, you can't just grow those coaches on trees. Obviously, I mean, if you could, every single team would have one, and in every sport.
Finding them. I mean,
they do the research.
5.5 decades now, 3 coaches, Ben. That's ridiculously.
I couldn't tell you, Couldn't tell you, but
They're really lucky. You're really lucky. You know, like sometimes I look at myself. I'm a Braves fan, right? Sometimes I look at like everything the Braves have
the
accomplished.
Braves have
over
one in Brian Snitker. He's been there forever.
Yes. And Brian, listen, my wife will tell you, man, like I love Brian Snitker. He's been with the organization for over 40 years. He was the third base coach for what felt like 100 years. And like every time they would show him on TV, my wife got sick of it. I'd be like, Brian Snitker, everybody. Like I just always made a thing. Like he's just always been a part of that organization.
Yeah.
And he's never gone anywhere. He's finally getting a chance. I'm so glad they won a World Series with him. Like of all the guys, like he and Bobby Cox, like Brian Snitker really deserved that championship. I loved that for him.
No, for sure. And I mean, like, you look at the NBA and, there's only a couple coaches that you can think of that like, hey, like, I want to play for that dude. And one of them is Greg Popovich. Just unfortunate that he hasn't had great talent the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you put him on it, like, if you put Greg Popovich on that Warriors dynasty, I think they go 6. I think they win 6 in a row.
Yeah, maybe. Could they do better than 73-9? That could they have won 76 games? I don't know.
We talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
The year they went 73-9, the Spurs went 67-15.
Yeah.
And only lost one home game.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Spurs almost went undefeated at home that year. That's ridiculous. 40-1 is absolutely.
They had a better home record than the Warriors.
Yep, they sure did.
Like that. That's absurd.
That was a wild year for a team from the East to win a championship.
Hey, that's what happens when you run into the greatest basketball player ever.
And people still want to discount LeBron and say that Kyrie was solely responsible for that championship. Listen, Kyrie played great in that finals, okay? Kyrie hit a really big three. It's ridiculous to say, oh, well, they only win Game 7 because of Kyrie. Okay, listen, Kyrie hit the shot. Were there other guys on that roster that could have hit that three? Of course there were. Could they have done that without LeBron James on that roster? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's absurd to say that. Listen, the name of our last episode, the sports show with no name, was You Don't Know Ball, right? If you tell me that Cavs team would have won that same championship without LeBron James, right, and only Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and the supporting cat, J.R. Smith, whatever, you don't know ball.
No, it's...
Sorry. There aren't many opinions where I'm like, listen, you're wrong, because that's your opinion. But your opinion is wrong if that's your opinion. I'm sorry.
No, I feel it.
Wrong. It's absolutely wrong.
I tell people all the time. You look at that series, right? Cavs are down 3-1, right? You're going back to Golden State for Game 5.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron and Kyrie both dropped 41. And you're thinking, okay, the Warriors are vulnerable. The Cavs might have a chance. But then you realize, okay, Draymond Green's coming back. We're saying, oh, LeBron won't drop 41 again. Turns around, drops 41 again. On Draymond Green. And you're like, okay, now this
all of a sudden you're like, hey, they can win Game 7. Like they can do that. It doesn't matter.
And now you go to Game 7, and LeBron has a 27-point triple-double.
Yeah.
Only the third player ever to have a triple-double in the NBA in a Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Right. But people will still discount him because he didn't put up 30 or 40 plus.
No, but he had the biggest block in NBA Finals history.
Yes.
NBA Finals history. And I tell people, yeah, Kyrie might have hit that shot, but if LeBron doesn't make that free throw later in the game to make it a 2-possession game, it's a whole different ball game.
Absolutely.
Because if the Warriors get lucky and one of those threes fall, it's a tie ball game.
And they're just chucking up threes knowing they had to get the ball back and do something else with it. Yeah. I agree. I agree 100%.
That's why I tell people, it would have been nice if LeBron would have made both those free throws, because obviously 2 threes is a 2-possession game. But if you force them to 2s, it's a 3-possession game.
Is today the anniversary of that game, by the way? Is that?
I think so. Yes.
I thought so.
I was in Cooperstown for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was in Cooperstown.
What were you in Cooperstown for? Were you at the Baseball Hall of Fame?
No, I was playing in the Cooperstown tournament.
Oh, you were playing. That's right. I forgot. I'm old. You're not. Yeah, that's right. You were playing in it. Okay, that's right. I was like, because you can't play youth baseball because you're not old. I am.
No, we were playing a team from Golden State, California.
Oh, that's crazy. That's really cool.
So before we played them, we were sitting up top in the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And we're watching it. We didn't know what team we were playing because there was multiple teams from Golden State.
Right.
And so we start watching the game. All of a sudden we head down there and we're like, wait, didn't we just see you guys up there? And they're like, yeah. And it turned out we were playing that team. And funniest thing is, I'm playing right field the whole game,
Yeah.
and they've got dugouts that go like all the way down the line. And my brother and my uncle are sitting there watching Game 7 on their phone, and they're giving me updates. And we
That's
lost this Golden State team. It was a good game. I think we lost 12-7 or 12-8. It was a great game.
okay.
And after the game, they're like, haha, we just beat you. My uncle's like, I don't care. He's like, we just won the NBA Finals. He's like, I don't care. Like, we just came back from 3-1. Like, we don't care.
Right.
Like,
No, that's cool, man. That's cool. Let's get back to the
like-
Cavs though, because listen, I got to ask you this. Now that the season's over, right? Celtics are the champions. We know that. Some people are already moving. I saw some roster stuff this morning. Doesn't matter. Doesn't affect us. I want to know what you think they're going to do with this roster. Like, we've talked about it before, and I still don't know. Did they sign Mitchell to an extension? Is that going to happen? I mean, does it depend on who the coach is?
From the
Is that
reports
why
I'm
this
hearing,
taking so long?
it sounds like he's going to sign an extension.
Okay.
And I know the past couple weeks, I've said, I think you should, I know you're a big fan of trading Darius Garland, and the more and more I think about it,
And it's
the
not
more
that I
and more
don't like Garland. I just think the two of them don't work that
No.
well together. But go ahead.
no,
Yeah.
and the more and more I think about it, the more and more I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
But I think you bring in a new coach, bring in a whole new system, and maybe see how these four guys mesh together and see how they work together. And then if it
Yeah.
doesn't work, then maybe you get rid of Garland.
Yeah. I mean,
Or
you
maybe-
don't have to be hasty.
or maybe
to make that
even
move.
or maybe you even trade him at the deadline in the
Yeah.
coach's first year if it's not
And
working.
listen, there's no reason to force the trade. You don't have to get him out of here if you don't get a package that you like in return, right? Like, you don't have to.
Of course,
get rid
yeah.
of him. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. It's
Unless
like all
something
trades.
changes between then and now, and Mitchell signs a huge extension, and Garland goes, you know what, I want out of here. Then you got to do if he pulls a Kyrie, you have to do what you have to do, and you may not get
Yeah.
what back for him. But you don't have to do that. I don't know, and I'm starting to think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley can coexist maybe a little better together than I thought. I've been trying to go back and watch some just highlights of games and how they interact, not like physically like, hey, how are you, but like how they interact in a basketball sense on the court together. And I guess they can coexist.
going back to what you were saying. I saw somebody put a compilation together. It was of all the times that either Allen or Mobley missed a defensive rotation and the other one was there to have their back. And the video was like 6 minutes long.
Okay.
And somebody was like, well, it's kind of bad that it's 6 minutes long. But at the same time, somebody was like, well, look at it from this way, that like,
look how
they
well
have
they
each
mesh
other's
together
back.
and play. They know where each
Yeah.
other are. Yeah.
yeah. And they know that, they know that like, oh shit, he's not where he's supposed to be. Let me go cover his spot. Excuse my
Yeah.
language.
Like,
but-
sense. Like, hey,
Yeah.
my guy
Yeah.
needs some help. Let me slide over. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's certainly
And-
there's certainly something to the chemistry, right? Like, you want to be able to, you got to know each other. You got to be able, you have to be able to.
And
play.
I get people say, oh, well, Evan Mobley can't shoot. In today's game, I promise you Evan Mobley is working on his shooting. I promise you.
Yeah. It's gotten
With
better.
guys
I
like
think it's gotten better.
Yeah.
I don't have
guys
the
like
numbers in
Donovan
front of me, but
Mitchell-
I think his percentage has gone up from the floor. I mean, yeah.
Here, let me look it up. I'll tell you right now.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
fine. While
like-
you look that up, I want to ask you. And I just think about this question while you're looking that up. What are your expectations for next year? I don't care who the coach is. It doesn't matter who coaches to me. James Borrego. It could be Kenny Atkinson. It could be Monty Williams. It could be Phil Jackson. Come out.
NBA champions are bust. I'm kidding.
That's it. Just that's it. Either win the championship or disband the franchise forever. No, I don't think it's that serious. But would you like to see them get to an Eastern Conference? Is that the expectation? Do you want to see them?
I think,
take that
yeah.
next step? Or do they just
think
need to
Eastern
compete in that second round a little bit better? Does that make sense?
I think just competing more in the second round, but at the same time, we were injured. I think if we can stay healthy, like I said, I think if we stay healthy, I think we make the Eastern Conference final. I genuinely believe that.
Okay. I wish we
So
had a
here I
Celtics fan watching live right now. I wish we could. I'm sure that would be a fun interaction.
Here I have Evan Mobley stats pulled up.
Okay.
Every year of his career, his field goal percentage has gone up.
There you
His
go.
rookie year, it was 50%, then up to 55, then up to 58. His 3-point percentage went from everything except his 3-point percentage. His 3-point percentage went from 25 to 21, but then all the way up to 37%. But he only attempted 1.2 a game.
So what's the reason for that jump from 25 to 37 is huge. What? There's got to be a physical cause there, right? It's not just he just didn't realize how to shoot all of a sudden.
Like I said, I think he's working on it. I think in today's NBA, I think he looked at his game and was like, I need to be able to shoot to be able to be successful.
Yeah.
Like there's very few centers in today's game that can't shoot that are successful. I mean, yes, Rudy Gobert's one of them, but you look at other centers, they can't really. They can't shoot. There's not many.
Yeah.
I mean, and even his free throw percentage went up too. His free throw
and
percentage.
honestly, the ones that don't shoot that well handle the ball pretty well. They can distribute a little bit, right? Like they're almost like a point center. Yeah. I mean, they don't handle the ball, but yeah, within the confines of being a center in an offense in the NBA, they do well with the ball in their hands. I'm not saying they're dribbling around and handling the ball, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and even his free throw percentage went up. His rebounds went up, his assists per game went up, his steals went up, his blocks were like right around the same. So I just think it's the whole situation of he came in the league so young that as he gets older and as he starts hitting his prime, he's going to get better and better and better and better and better. Kind of like LeBron. Yeah. LeBron entered at 18.
Yeah.
And obviously, yes, LeBron was considered a superstar from the time he came in the league. But
Sure.
You get what I mean by I don't think Evan Mobley will be considered a superstar until he's 24, 25.
Yeah, no, LeBron went from very physically talented to dominant. There was
and I think I think once Evan Mobley, finally grows into his own body, because men technically aren't fully grown until you're 22, 24.
Yeah,
somewhere in there,
yeah.
I
mean, yeah, you can, and especially filling out, like you can hit the weight room. I mean, you can put on.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially with his
once
frame.
once he fills out and once he gets bigger, and if he can continue to consistently improve from the field shooting wise, I think in years to come he'll be untouchable. I mean, I think he'll be one of the best centers in the league.
We hope so. We certainly hope so. I mean, listen, it's hard to. You've got so much going on as a young kid. Do you remember? Well, I almost asked if you remember what you were doing in your early 20s, but it's very relevant for you right now. I remember what I was doing in my early 20s, and it wasn't being, an international global NBA icon. That's got to be hard, right? It's not easy.
For sure.
It's not easy to mature physically and emotionally and psychologically and, I mean, socially. Now we have social media to worry about. I didn't have that when I was 20 years old. Now Evan Mobley does. And it's just, there's so much more access to these guys' lives. It's really easy to say as a fan, just shut up, tune out all the noise and just play basketball. Ugh. Yeah, well, I mean, okay, you're a human being. You hear the noise. I mean, he's not a machine. He's not going to play basketball 24 hours a day and never sleep or eat, right? Like there are going to be times where he's like down and doing things, and they're not going to be basketball, and he's going to hear some of that outside noise. And yeah, I mean, I think you have to have a certain ability to not necessarily tune it out. I don't know, maybe just to use it as a constructive thing, as a constructive tool. And if it makes you mad, turn that anger into some fuel and go out and I don't know, play harder, get better.
I feel you with that, because it, like you said, especially in today's world, where, you open your phone, and even if you're not going on social media, you're still getting the notifications. And especially as an NBA athlete, like if your name's mentioned in there and it says like, oh, Evan Mobley has, plays terrible, should the Cavs move on? Should the Cavs do this? Should the Cavs do that? Like you said, that gets to you. Like that takes a toll on you, not only physically but emotionally.
Yep.
And I think my favorite clip of that is it's actually from the Cavs coming back from 3-1. It's when Clay goes, I guess he just got his feelings hurt, and then LeBron turns into an absolute animal and goes
I can
off.
just hear that LeBron laugh still, man. I was like, I don't know if they're gonna come back, but the Warriors might have trouble this next game or two.
Yeah, but it's like you said.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I called the comeback, but when Klay Thompson said that, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I wouldn't poke LeBron with a stick, but you do what you do, man.
Yeah. But it's kind of like you said, like.
Live shows, ladies and gentlemen. Live YouTube. We're getting it right now. Ben has shut down. His batteries are dead. Oh no, he's here.
Sorry. Okay. But like you were saying, like like if that's something that angers you, like I think you like you said you gotta tune in and
Yeah.
you gotta like tune it out and just take it out on the court.
Or take it
It's
all
gonna
in, take it all in and just turn it into fuel.
exactly.
Some guys thrive on that. I think egos are very, very different, right? Everybody's different. We know that.
Oh yeah,
And
egos
guys'
are
egos are the same. They're all different. You either thrive on confidence, right? And people saying, "Hey, man, you're the guy, you're the guy, you're the guy," or you thrive on people going, "Hey, I don't think you can do this," and you go, "All right, we'll watch." You know what I mean?
it's
And I
kind
think
of
everybody's a little bit different, and some guys it's probably a little bit of a mix of that. And I think that's the challenge for a head coach. Um, First of all, like I said, in the NBA, you're dealing with grown men, right? You're not molding, for the most part, young men into men anymore, young kids into men. But maybe if they're coming into the league at 19, they're still pretty young. But anyway, you're dealing with grown men who are making millions and millions of dollars, most likely more than you at that point if you're the coach. You've got to find a motivating factor. It's not yelling at them, right? It's not threatening them with running stair steps. Like they're not going to.
Urban Meyer tried that.
That's not going to work. That's not going to work. You have to find what motivates them. And sometimes you might have to get in their ear a little bit and go, "Hey, I don't think you suck, right? But the world thinks you suck. I know you got it, man. I know you can do it. But the world is like talking, they're laughing at you, man. They think you suck." And then there are some guys on the roster, you can't do that because they're going to be like, "Man, that's what the world thinks. Man, I don't want to go out there on the court, man. That sucks. Like, I don't want to play under that kind of pressure, right?" Like, guys are different. That doesn't make them soft or weak. It just makes them different. They're different.
Yep.
Everyone's different. And I think that, like I said, if you're, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what my point was. It's just really hard to develop.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
it's really hard to develop, right? Everything at the same time. It's hard to do it. You've got so much pressure. The lights are on. It's hot. You know what I mean? Like, not literally.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I forget who it was. Oh yeah, it was Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes said he's like, I see a quote. It's like, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. He's like, unfortunately, he's like, I think my career's now been long enough to the point where I see myself becoming a villain. He's like, I like it. He's like, bring on the hate. He goes, I'm just going to keep winning.
Yep. And honestly, if that's the day, if you're that petty at the end of the day that you're going to hate me because I do what I'm supposed to do, then go ahead and hate. Hate me for winning. That's fine. I can deal with that. Whatever. It's not a big deal. Let's move on, though. Speaking of winning, right? And people, I don't know if anybody hates the Guardians for winning, but the Guardians are winning. They're in command right now of the AL Central. They're hovering at about 5.5, 4.5 in that range. Their game they're basically up on the Royals and Twins right now. But by the way, I think I just said a bad word. I meant to say which, by the way. Who expected the Royals to be here after losing 106 games last year, right?
I don't think anybody did, to be honest.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, it's pretty wild. And that's actually becoming more and more of a thing, right? Just in baseball. And I think that's kind of one of the things I wanted to get into. Like, well, first of all, who do you expect to be there at the end of the year? Do you think it's going to be the Royals or the Twins, or is it going to be both of them still?
Well, I mean, let me ask you, because, you're pretty good at predicting this. Halfway through the year last year, the Pirates were first place in the division, like 12 games over 500, and you said, oh, it won't last. And they, finished dead last in their division. So who do you think it's going to be?
I don't expect the Royals to be able to make this last. The Twins are kind of built for this. If you would have asked most people at the beginning of the season, the Twins were going to win the AL Central easily, right? The Guardians don't even really appear to be built for it. I've talked about the pitching staff before with the Guardians. The starting pitching staff is shaky to me.
It is very shaky.
And I'm not throwing stones. I'm a Braves fan. The starting pitching staff in Atlanta is also very shaky, which they can't hit right now either. The Braves are struggling, but they've won 5 out of 6, so fine, right? Like you make the best of it. No, I expect it to be the Twins. I don't know that the Twins are going to overtake the Guardians. I mean, it could happen. It very well could happen. They're only 5 games up or so. But yeah, I don't think the Royals are going to be there. I think the Royals are going to fall off, and I don't think they're going to be sellers. I think they're going to be a wild card. I don't know if they're going to make the wild card or not, but I think they're going to be a wild card candidate for, well into mid-September, late September. But I do expect them to have a little bit of a fall off. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I haven't been wrong. Like you said, I think I've been doing pretty good, predicting baseball stuff. But yeah, I do think it's the Twins. And I want to ask you this, because I think the trade deadline for everybody, not just for the Guardians, I think it could be very, very frustrating for teams that are winning, because I don't know if you know this or not, but right now in Major League Baseball, there are 19 teams that are within 7 games of a wild card spot. Um, that's absurd, right?
Yeah,
That's the parity you want in the league, but not if you're a team that's like, hey, we're running away with our division. Let's go get a pitcher. Where are you going to get a pitcher from?
yeah.
So let's just start in the American League, because I think that if you look at it, it's just such a, how do I want to say this? It's a, I don't know. Where do you look? So you usually look at the obvious losers, right? Well, not so fast, because you look at Oakland. Okay, a team like Oakland, they've got a very, very big impending move coming up, right? Are they going to want to get rid of a guy like Mason Miller, getting ready to make that move to Vegas or wherever they're going to play until that stadium's done? You've got to put butts in seats, right? And you can't do it with a bare bones roster.
I mean, they've basically gone 2 years out. I mean, their average attendance is like 10,000.
Right.
Or less.
But that's why they're trying to move away from Oakland, because they think that they can't draw. Part of it is the stadium. I get it. And the city of Oakland doesn't want to do anything, apparently, for any of their professional teams.
But here's
such an odd decision financially, but whatever.
Here's what my dad and uncle said about the whole, situation is their owner is just trying to get him to Las Vegas. Once they get to Las Vegas, he knows people are going to come. People are going to show up. He's just kind of just trying to slide by until, he gets to Las Vegas. I'm sure if the right deal comes along, yes, you'll move Mason Miller.
Yeah, okay.
But maybe. You need the right deal.
But I think you're going to have to get something back in return that, not Paul Skeens, but almost like a Paul Skeens guy, like a guy with that level of
no, that's like let's just say, okay, if the Guardians wanted Mason Miller, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to give up like three or four of your top prospects, and I mean like your top prospects for your top of the spectrum prospects to get a guy like Mason Miller. But then you can't make any other moves.
No, and that's terrifying. For you put all your marbles into one basket for a guy that throws one inning, maybe an inning and 2/3 at most in a game every other night, right?
Yeah, and here's what I tell people. People are like, "Oh, dude, the back half of that bullpen would be disgusting with Mason Miller and Clase." They're basically the same pitcher.
Yeah.
Our bullpen is already elite, right?
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
You already have the best bullpen in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't have a solidified setup man, but with how good our bullpen is, you don't need one.
Right.
And I saw somebody say Bo Bichette to Cleveland. Now that got my mind turning.
Okay.
Because yes, he's not playing well in Toronto this year.
Sometimes change of scenery works for guys,
And that's what I was gonna say. And if you bring him to Cleveland, maybe being around a guy like Jose Ramirez, a guy like Andres Jimenez, a guy like Steven Kwan.
Yeah, maybe it's a chemistry thing. Because listen, as far as like markets go and like teams and stadiums and like the pride, I think Toronto and Cleveland are very similar. You don't have a whole lot of heat on you in Toronto, right? Like literally and figuratively. But you're playing indoors, it's kind of like a relaxed atmosphere. There's not a whole lot of like win right now or bust. It's not like you're with the Yankees or the Mets, where it's like you start off 4-7 and the whole city wants the whole team gone, right? It's not like that in Toronto. You can kind of fly under the radar, and I think sometimes to a certain extent you can fly under the radar here too. Well, really, yeah. I mean, you just can fly under the radar in Cleveland. I think that's one of the draws for guys to come here.
You said something that I like. You said the chemistry. Because I've always told people this. I said if you look at Francisco Lindor before he left Cleveland and after he left Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
Look at his chemistry with Jose Ramirez. Yep. You're hitting them 2 and 3 in the lineup. Yep. You're hitting them back to back. They're laughing, goofing off, having fun, giggling, when they're in the infield. And in the dugout, they're just a bunch of clowns and goofballs.
Yep.
And then Francisco goes to New York, and he looks like he doesn't want to play baseball anymore.
Right. Yeah, he looks like he's not having any fun.
And Jose's just his same old self.
Yep.
And you got guys like Steven Kwan, Andres Jimenez. They're all acting like clowns, goofing off, and it's like,
Yep.
Like you said, it's kind of like that whole chemistry thing is like, okay, maybe I
It's
go
very
there and maybe I play better
And boy, how
because I can just let
fortunate are the
loose.
Guardians and Guardians fans for having a guy like Jose Ramirez who wants to take less money to stay in a city like this, to stay here and just be like that. You know, like you said, he's like that lightning rod of confidence for the rest of the lineup. Like
Oh, for sure.
some guys just radiate that, man. And I think Jose is one of those guys. I don't know him personally. I've met people that know him personally, and everyone says the same thing. He's just a great dude, man. He's engaging. He's funny. He cares. Man, what else do you want in a teammate? You know, you want a guy that cares about you and it's gonna like not be afraid to like put a foot in your butt when you need it. You know what I mean? Like, hey
For
man, like
sure.
let's get
And
going a little bit. Like you have a responsibility, let's go, right? Like,
for,
but not in
for
a
sure.
not,
And
but from a caring standpoint, like from like almost like a fatherly figure. Like he cares about you.
yeah, and the thing going back to what you said, about Karen, and the thing I tell people about that whole situation with Jose is, when Terry Francona was trying to, okay, we're going to change the way we play, we're going to be more of a small ball team, put the ball in play, use our legs to, get on base.
Yeah.
He pulled Jose Ramirez into his office and said, hey, he's like, this is what we're going to do. He's like, I need you to lead by example. And Jose, he's like, done deal. He's like, I'll do it.
Yeah. And again, that goes
Like,
down. That's respect. Respect for Terry Francona. Yeah.
Yeah, but before these last couple of years, when did you see Jose Ramirez every single time the ball's hit the outfield, he's trying to get two out of it?
Yeah.
I like yes, don't get me wrong, he hit doubles before, but they
Right.
were like actual like true doubles, like off the wall gappers. Now he hits a little blooper into center field and he's turning first, heading for second. You're like, are you nuts?
Well,
And then he
listen,
gets
did you
then he's
watch any
safe,
of the
and you're
Division
like,
Three World Series games at all? Did you go back and watch those online?
no, I don't
Okay,
want.
I,
I watched a
I
couple, but
especially paid attention to Misericordia because I heard some people saying like the way they play is like it's different, right? It's Coug ball, it's Coug ball. I call it Coug ball. I'm like, what's Coug ball about?
yeah, all their hit by pitches.
Well, they're just ultra aggressive. Like they take the next base. They really force the issue, and yeah, they get some guys thrown out every once in a while. But they also create a lot of situations where they're causing teams to kind of like panic and try to make a quick play, and you make an error, you throw the ball away, 2-run score. Listen, I believe in that. I believe in like forcing the issue a little bit. If you don't have an offense that's going to hit 315 home runs like the Braves did last year, you've got to create scoring opportunities, and that means when you get guys on base, you got to move them, right? And you can't always rely on a bunt. You can't always rely on stealing bases. You don't always have that guys with that kind of speed or that kind of skill, right? It's really sad to say that guys.
Oh,
Yeah, I just think that we got kicked off there for a second, but we're back. We're back. That's okay. I don't know what happened, but it's
technology,
fine. But yeah, I think we got enough guys.
technology.
What's that? Technology, yay! And we switch places on the screen, so it's really weird. When I go look at you, it's me now. But yeah, I think you've got to have guys that help create those opportunities to score.
No, for sure.
You have to score.
And for sure. And I think, every time, I hear an Andre Knott interview with a player, he talks about Jose Ramirez. He's like, man, how special is he? And every single player is like, dude, they're like, they all say something along the lines of, he's basically our engine. Like when he goes, we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he was out for those last two games of the Toronto series.
Yeah.
And they did not look like the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah. And by the way, yeah, you're right. By the way, talking with Andre Knott, like it's obvious the two of those guys have a very close friendship. I mean, yeah, Andre Knott, he just couldn't find enough nice things to say about Ramirez. It was amazing, right, to hear all that.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool. And one more point I wanted to make too is I talked about the A's a little bit. So like the next place you go to in the American League, if you're looking at a team that's completely out of it, is the White Sox, right? So you look at, okay, we need a starting pitcher. You look at Garrett Crochet, who is tied for the league lead in strikeouts in his first year of being a starting pitcher, after coming off some injuries last year. And you talked about it. You and I talked about it before. So the guy doesn't throw off speed pitches. I mean, he throws 85, 90% fastballs and mixes in a cutter, right, for the most part. And he's uber successful. I mean, amazingly successful. But the White Sox, I don't think, are going to be necessarily a great trade partner either, because you look at a team like the Diamondbacks in 1921. I don't know if the Diamondbacks did in 1921 because they didn't exist. But in 2021, they went 52-110, and 2 years later, they're in the World Series. The Royals last year lost 106 games, and if the season ended today, they'd be a wild card team. So I don't know that the White Sox are going to necessarily give up on a lefty who's leading baseball or tied for the league lead with Tyler Glasnow in baseball in strikeouts, right? Like that's a guy to build around, supposedly, right? I mean, you think
it is, but I also want to, I also want to throw this out there at you. I look at both sides of it. You look at the Royals last year. You had the pieces to know, okay, we lost 106 games, but we saw improvement from our star players in Brady Singer and Bobby Witt and AJ Melendez in left field.
Yeah.
And it's like, besides Garrett Crochet, who else do the White Sox have that have shown that type of improvement that's like, okay, next year we might be pretty good?
Listen, no one on offense. I mean,
and
no
that's one. And I think as a general manager, I think that's when you're like, okay, maybe we just kind of just fully reset again and maybe try and get some prospects, and maybe in a couple of years we'll be good.
Yeah, you have a little bit of a fire sale and you get rid of what you got and you try to stock the cupboards with something. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe.
But
because it is hard to build around a one-man roster. I don't know where.
Yeah.
But baseball's a sport. You can retool quickly. You can get a big bat and another starting pitcher, and all of a sudden that's 30 more wins. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So if the White Sox are going to be a 45-win team, now they had 30 wins. That's 75 wins. I mean, that's you're getting there now. You know?
Yeah. I mean, talking about building around one player, I think the only team that truly did build around one player is Cleveland.
Yeah.
With Jose. I mean,
and they didn't make a mistake.
No. I mean, they did everything in their power to keep Jose.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I shouldn't. It was Jose's decision because he easily could have left and gone to another team and got $300+ million.
But believe you me, the Guardians did do everything they could to keep him. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And when he stayed, the Guardians knew, okay, we have to build around this guy. We cannot miss. And like
you can't
you
waste
said,
this window. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
you got to
like
try.
You said,
you have to try to win.
Like you said, they didn't miss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so. I mean, you look at, like you said, you look at most teams, right? You got the Braves. You're building around Shohei, Freddie, and Mookie. Or if you're the Dodgers, my bad. You're building around Shohei. Yeah. Yeah. No, if you're the Braves, you're building around Acuna, Albies.
I woke up. I didn't know what's happening. Yeah.
If you're the Braves, you're building around Ronald Acuna, Albies, Matt Riley, Sean Murphy. Yeah. You're building around those guys. Each team has a core group of guys, and yes, the Guardians do too, right? But the Guardians' core, most of your core is starting pitchers or pitchers. You have one bat that you're building your offensive around, and that's Jose Ramirez.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just, like you said, most teams build around your offense. The Guardians built it around their starting pitching and then one elite offensive player that is kind of just like the lightning rod.
Yeah. Listen, getting Bieber back halfway through the next year is going to help.
For sure.
It looks like he's going to be willing to sign an extension here, but at least a small deal, maybe like a 1 or 2 year kind of a prove it deal.
Yeah.
I think that could be good for both sides. We'll just have to see what happens. Sure. I want to move on to the National League because I don't know if you've been watching the standings at all, but the Phillies were like ridiculously hot.
Phillies are one of the best teams in baseball.
They're really good. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from them. They beat the Braves the last 2 years in the playoffs pretty handily, pretty easily. They're starting to cool off a little bit now, though. The last couple, over their last 10, they're like 4-6. Playing some better teams. I'm not saying that they can't beat better teams because they are a really good team. They're probably a top 4 or 5 team in baseball. But they're just starting to cool off. Can the Braves take advantage of that right now? Because listen, the Braves have been a one-man show. You talk about a one-man show. The Braves offense has been an absolute one-man show.
Marcell Ozuna
is on a tear. He's on a tear. Man.
He's leading. He's on pace for the Triple Crown right now.
It's unreal. He's leading or in the top 5 in basically every major offensive category. He's hitting .321 with 20 home runs, 62 RBIs right now. The 20 home runs and 62 RBIs lead the National League. I think Luis Arias is hitting like .322. Well, that's not even Arias because no. I don't even know what's going on in the National League right now. But slugging percentage is .611. OPS is over 1,000, right? 1,003. He's on top of guys like he's on top of guys like Ohtani, Mookie Betts. He's been the absolute best hitter in the National League. Can the rest of the lineup follow suit, though? Like they show signs, they show flashes, but Austin Riley's kind of starting to hit a little bit after his oblique injury. Sean Murphy hasn't been the same. He's struggling trying to come back from that oblique injury, but you need him behind the plate, so they throw him out there. Acuna's out, for the year, obviously with the torn ACL.
Yeah.
Spencer Strider's out. He's not offense, but obviously that doesn't help. Michael Harris II now is going to be. It looks like he's going to miss extended time with a hamstring injury. I mean, I'm a Braves fan. Should I panic or am I okay? What do I do?
I'll say what I said. I'll say what I say about most good teams that go through injuries.
Mm-hmm.
If the Braves can stay afloat until you get Michael Harris back,
yeah,
I think you'll be just fine. Because Michael Harris is a guy who won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah,
he's a great baseball player.
Absolutely.
But I also think that losing Ronald Acuna, you need somebody else to pick up that slack that you lose from him.
Yeah, listen, Alex Anthopoulos is going to have a year like 2021 where he goes and just revamps the whole outfield again. Because to lose your starting center fielder, your starting right fielder is tough. Listen, Jared Kelenich's done a nice job. They put him in the leadoff spot. He's been there for not very long. I think he's only got 18 at bats in the leadoff spot. At least when I type these notes out, he's hitting 444 with a couple of home runs. Right, he's only struck out 3 times in those 18.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean he seems to be thriving in that leadoff spot for the Braves.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Stephen Kwan's rookie year. Beginning of the year, he batted towards the bottom of the lineup, 20, 30 games in. Terry Francona moved him to leadoff spot, and he hit over 340 the rest of the year. And you're like, now wait a minute. Like,
some guys really
why did we
thrive
do
in
this
that
at the beginning
role,
of the
right?
season?
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't we do this at the beginning of the season? And Jared Kelenich's one of those guys that he's had so much potential ever since he came up.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's never been able to find.
Seattle. Yeah.
But now you put him in the leadoff spot. I mean, yes, he only has 18 at bats, but he's hitting 440 something.
Yeah.
If he can hit around 300 the rest of the year, you're like, okay, maybe we found something here.
All of a sudden, he's got a couple home runs out of the leadoff spot. I mean, he torched Tampa Bay in that series. He had a couple home runs. It's funny that the 2 home runs against Tampa Bay almost looked exactly the same. So I don't know if that means he's getting locked in. If Tampa Bay just pitched him a certain way that he liked, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. All you can see is just going forward. You have to watch, right? You can't really not much you can do about it as a fan. I think that's maybe the most frustrating thing as a fan, right? Like when you're on a team that's not playing well and you're a player, you can pick up certain areas. You can try to identify like maybe what a guy needs to do to whatever. You can help there, but when you're just watching, it feels very helpless, right? It's just like, man.
For sure. Now is Ozuna is he DHing?
Yeah. Well, for the most part, he's playing a little bit of left field. But yeah, for the most part, they have him DHing. He's not the greatest outfielder, although he somehow won a Gold Glove. I'll never understand it. But
the reason why I asked that is because what I was saying is like, even if you do move him back to the outfield and you find yourself another DH, I mean, then all you really have to worry about is replacing Michael Harris in center field.
Yeah.
I mean, but I get if you want to keep Ozuna at DH, not have him worry about fielding. Maybe that's why he's hitting. Maybe that's why he's on a tear.
Yeah.
But as just a baseball fan in general, I'm trying to think of it for the Braves is like, what's the easiest way to fix your solution or what's the easiest way to fix your problem and come up with a solution? I mean, you could stick Marcell Ozuna in right field. You know baseball. Yeah. Where do you always play your worst, quote unquote, your worst defender?
Well, but in the major leagues, it's not really like that. I mean, you want your guy. Really, that's the outfielder you want to have the best arm out there now. You know what I mean? But
I get that, but I mean, it's kind of just like, I mean, it's kind of like every team that needs a place to put a guy that has a really good bat. Okay, let's stick him in the right field.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know.
Like I'm not saying the Braves should.
Some guys try first base. Some teams try first base, and I don't think you can stick a guy at first base. I don't think people realize how many responsibilities a first baseman has.
Oh yeah, dude.
And just how many little things you have to know, and how many. I played first base for a long time. There's a lot to it. It's not just standing out there being big and not being able to run. I mean, that's not what your first baseman does. You look at some of the best teams that are winning now, right? The Dodgers, the Braves, whoever you want to look at. They all have really good defensive first basemen, right? Like they've got guys that can pick it over there. They've got guys that can field ground balls. They've got guys that can get to ground balls, as well as hit. It's not just a spot anymore where you put the guy over there and he has an 892 fielding percentage and hits 45 bombs and you're happy. Like that's a lot of runs given up, man. When you're looking at the analytics part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
It almost evens out. It's not even worth it, right? So you might as well have a better the Casey Kotchman experiment, right? Cleveland did it. The Braves did it. Casey Kotchman over there hitting 331 or whatever with maybe like 16 home runs. Not a bunch of home runs, but he's a super defender. You save some runs that way. So it's like, I don't know. It depends on your preference.
I mean, who are the Braves been playing in center since Michael Harris is hurt?
It's been a committee.
What's their?
Kelenich's been out there a little bit. I mean, they've got, it's been a little bit of a committee. It's just like throw somebody out there, see what works. I mean, it's they're all over the place. You know what I mean? I wish we had a steady guy who maybe wasn't like quite forced. I was going to try to look at the game breakdown of just like who's playing where or whatever. But really, so listen, if you're a Braves fan, do you bring Jock Peterson back to this team? Is that a good addition to this team?
I think it would be. Knows the culture, knows the team, has a relationship with the manager, but
I'm just trying to see if he's even available in a trade. Adam Duvall he's been okay, but Adam Duvall's not a center fielder by trade. It's not. And again, Kelenich's not really a center fielder by trade. It's just sort of like
center field is, like you said, center field has so many responsibilities.
Oh yeah.
I mean and I mean another big reason why I said you could put Marcell Ozuna in right field is actually I'll take that back. If you get a good center fielder, you can put Marcell Ozuna in right field.
Yeah.
Because a good center fielder can hide a bad right fielder, bad corner outfielder.
Yeah.
And when it comes to, outfielders, I get that's why people say, the Guardians should move Steven Kwan to center field because of his, elite range. But at the same time, he's won 2 Gold Gloves in left. You have Tyler Freeman in center, who's proven he can play the position.
Yeah.
And you also have a good fielding right fielder, so you don't need Steven Kwan in center.
Yeah.
I feel like if you had a guy in right field that wasn't great, like Nick Castellanos in right field, right?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe you explore putting Steven Kwan in center field because of his defensive abilities and his speed.
Yeah.
And you stick Tyler Freeman in left field. Yeah. But it's kind of
the
like
Guardians have a lot of those guys. They're just really, really, really good athletes, right? Like they're phenomenal athletes. Not always the best pure hitters, but they're really, really good athletes. Obviously, Kwan's a hitter.
Is that everything for baseball, or what are?
Yeah, that's about it, man. We probably should get out of here. And I just wanted to say one quick thing for the Braves. I think they'll still win the NL East this year. I know a lot of people.
Oh, I do too.
Listen, I've seen the Braves be 13 games down in July and come back and win the division. I don't think they're built.
That was a couple years ago against the Mets, right?
Yeah, exactly. They were 11.5 down in August. August they're 11.5 back. So I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I don't think the Phillies are gonna stay. The Phillies pitching staff can't keep pitching like this.
No, they can't.
They've got 5 aces right now. They're not going to keep pitching at this rate. And eventually some of the offense is going to fall off. The Phillies are going to hit a little losing streak, and the Braves still have a lot of games against the Phillies, too. They have a lot of head-to-head matchups. Yeah. So I think the Braves will still win. But listen, please remember, whether it's the Come On Ref channel, whether it's my YouTube channel, please help us grow. Like our shows, subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell so you can be notified when we go live, so you can hear us, fumble over 150-degree studio. It's so hot up here right now. I should mention we're getting our air conditioning fixed, and it's been off all day. It's really, really hot up here. So if I look like I'm sweating, I definitely am. And it's not just me being nervous talking to Ben about sports. It's really hot up here. But yeah, please like and subscribe, do all that. Ben, do you have anything to say before we get out of here?
No, just subscribe, helps us grow. Share it with your friends.
Nice.
Or don't. We prefer you do, but
yeah, we prefer you do. Listen, thank you so much for watching Come On Ref. Happy Juneteenth. Enjoy your day off if you get that. If you're lucky enough to get a day off for Juneteenth, happy Juneteenth. It's an important day in our history. I want to make sure you guys celebrate that, know what that's about. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Google it. It's a simple search. I know a lot of people have had things to say on social media because this is a made up holiday. Isn't every holiday made up at some point? We didn't just start the earth with built-in holidays, right? Like we had to find reasons to celebrate. And this
Christmas just wasn't built in?
Oh yeah, I think Christmas is the only one that's built in. And everybody has a different opinion on Christmas too. So don't be that person. Just you know what I mean?
Okay, here's a question to leave already with since you mentioned Christmas. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes. Yes, there's no question. Listen, I wish we had Brian on the show because Brian is wrong and says it's not a Christmas movie. Absolutely wrong. Brian Collins, we're coming for you. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. There's no doubt about it. Anyway, like I said, thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate you. We will see you hopefully next week around the same time on either Come On Ref or the Sports Show with No Name. You never know how we're going to pop up, but we'll be here talking about sports. I know that for a fact. So, Ben, thanks so much for taking the time, man. It was good to talk to you as always. Have a good day, buddy.
You as well.
All right, we'll see you guys.